First of all, I want to give you a small, very small introduction about Toyota because obviously you all know Toyota. So I will say Toyota in general, Toyota Motor Europe, where I work, and my department, Information Systems. So Toyota in the world, you all know, so I will be short on that one. It's around 10 million vehicles sold, quite a good profit in the past year, 7 million hybrid sales. And if you look at the various regions of the world, it's around 50% market share in Japan, 15 in North America, and 5 in Europe. So from that point of view, Europe is still quite small or has a big growth potential. You can look at it the way you want. This is Europe. We have started in 1963 in Denmark. Toyota has exported cars to Europe from that year. And gradually we have moved to an organization that covers today 56 countries. You may say there are not so many countries in Europe, but we have countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and so on as part of what we call Europe. The hybrids sold in Europe is close to 800,000, and our sales per year was 850,000 last year, and we are at 660 at the end of September, so it should be a bit more this year. Market share, I said, and employees, we give work directly to 20,000 people and indirectly to 93,000, close to 100,000 people, including the distribution network. Our head office is in Brussels. TME Information Systems is 263 employees. We are responsible for all the IT functions, covering manufacturing, R&D, sales, after sales, corporate systems, and now telematics, which is quite interesting because really IT also moved to the core business of the company through car IT or telematics. Our IT team is based in different locations. So this is the team that I directly manage. So we have the head office in Brussels, we have R&D, IT, and also systems engineering and operations in a different facility close to the head office. We have now IT coming from distributor IT, so in Cologne or in the UK, in Epsom, also coming from production facilities in Turkey, in the UK, in Poland. And like this, we have created a European IT that has people who really know the Gemba and various types of Gemba. It can go from the dealers to the suppliers, going through the distributors, and that we call national marketing and sales companies, and the factories. So instead of recruiting people who don't have an idea about the real operations, we have moved together actually as one team and learning together as one team. Now, of course, this creates a number of challenges because you have people of different cultures working in different geographies that need to collaborate. Of course, IT is also providing collaboration tools to the company, so it's not bad to start eating our own dog food, using those tools ourselves to learn how to collaborate well in this complex setup that we all know is the case of Europe. Then one-piece flow. So I'm glad I didn't show the Toyota vision statement because it would have been duplication. So I will show now the Toyota production system. You, of course, all know the house of TPS, but this time, as I gave a few other presentations before that you can still find, I will focus on the left pillar, actually, of this, which says just in time. And there you have one-piece flow, pull, and tact. And that will be the focus of the presentation today. So what are the benefits of one-piece flow? Well, I list the benefits on this slide, but I will then explain what it is, and you will see gradually how we think we can achieve those benefits. So these are slides I took from the Lean Summit in the UK of Dan last year. So does it work? So we had a great presentation from Art Byrne, who is the CEO, who worked at a company called Wiremold and applied those principles systematically to his company And when you're the CEO, of course, you have a way to really do it systematically to the whole company if you believe in it. So the 3 principles he used was work to takt time, implement one-piece flow, use a pull system. And he wrote this book about this. The book is one thing, but the actual success he had is, of course, what gives the legitimacy to the book. So these are the results he obtained. Well, the company was having a good gross profit of 37%. So everybody knows if you're successful, it's very difficult actually to tell people, to give people a sense of urgency and to further improve. However, when you see the right side, in 10 years, it moves from $30 million company to $770 million company. And the gross profit moved over 50%. And then you see the other figures. In particular, inventory turns went from 3 to 17. And he reduced also dramatically the number of suppliers in the way, and could basically manufacturing a lot of product much quicker than before, thereby satisfying the customers more and giving a great result for the company. So this is a great example of result of applying lean to the company in a systematic way, which we know is extremely difficult to do in practice. So what does one-piece flow look like versus other methods? So in a manufacturing environment, you have an example here. On the left side, you have, let's say, the traditional process. You have to produce a batch of 10 pieces, and you have some waiting time between your processes. And like this, on the left side, the first piece will be finished after 21 minutes, and it will take you 30 minutes for an entire batch of 10 pieces. On the right side, you reduce the muda, the waste between the processes. Each process still takes 1 minute, but then you can get the first piece done in 3 minutes, and the entire batch of 10 pieces will be delivered after 12 minutes. Of course, this is a very simplified view of the reality, but this is to show you why we are doing this kind of things. You could ask, what is a piece in one-piece flow? Now, one, everybody knows what it means. Flow seems relatively natural. So what does piece mean in this world? So is it one part? Is it an assembly? Is it a car in the car industry? Or what is it in other industries? Well, basically, it can be all of that. So if you look at the graph on the right here, and we consider our economies of scale versus cost to store our work, then we have an optimum. Basically, we need to make the best target. If we produce extremely small lots, maybe it's too small, but we don't want to have big batches. So there is an optimal target, which is normally a batch size that is smaller than what most people imagine intuitively. So the scale of one piece also will change as the product travels towards the customer. So it's time for a quote of Ono-san, the father of TPS. The slower but consistent tortoise causes less waste and is much more desirable than the speedy hare that races ahead and then stops occasionally to doze. By comparing to what Dan Jones just says, yeah, if you do Kaizen, if you do a lot of Kaizen quickly, you will in the end achieve more. So the Toyota production system can be realized only when all of the workers become tortoises. Now, I will move to the application of these principles to IS. And when I say IS, I don't mean just software development, because we also need to look at the company in a holistic way, but also at IS in a holistic way. Yeah? No need to deliver a lot of small lots of software if there's no way to put them in production before next month, for example. So this is why it's very important to look at everything it takes to actually deliver the value to the customer. We need to measure and to prove also that every euro we spend gives the maximum return, because you could imagine to have many agile teams that deliver a lot of things that also give value to the customer, but maybe other things could give more value. So I will come back to the way we work on this to make sure that we really do the right things. To maximize the speed of project delivery, we also need to avoid unnecessary batching of activities. And as the project is delivered, we need to deliver functions in small and even pieces, easily tested, avoiding big peaks in workload. This is the Heijunka. In summary, we want an unbroken chain of value traveling continuously towards the customer. In software development, one-piece flow is starting at requirements definition, but how do we know these are the best? Based upon each department's Hoshin Kanri, so this is the management of the direction or the compass for the company, we can clearly see how they want to improve their performance and how this can be measured. So when this is clear, we focus on ensuring each change we make is a good change. And change for the good is in Japanese kaizen. Yeah? So you see Hoshin Kanri on the top right and kaizen. So we want to measure and prove that every euro, dollar, yen we spend gives a maximum return. So you could ask, why is this part of one-piece flow? Well, flow means the benefit is delivered. But if there's no benefit, the flow itself should not occur. So it's not just about flow, but we need the right flow in the right direction. To ensure that each project and part has value, we seek to quantify its benefit in a tangible manner. We have many discussions about that because people always come with intangible benefits for projects, but if they are intangible, it's a Latin word, you cannot touch them. It's Latin this year. Then if you cannot touch them, how can you measure later that you have actually delivered them? It's quite difficult. Yeah? So if you have no tangible benefits, probably you shouldn't do the project either. If one part does not provide benefit, we should lose it. If the whole project cannot deliver benefit, it needs to make way to a project that does. Another quote, people who can't understand numbers are useless. The Gemba where numbers are not visible is also bad. However, people who only look at the numbers are the worst of all. So this is not the only thing we should do. Now back to the unnecessary batching of activities. You see on the right of this slide the 7 wastes. And actually, each of these wastes has something to do with the flow. They are basically making your flow slower, or they are preventing you from having a good flow. So by removing those wastes, we will actually come closer to our ideal of one-piece flow. Validate that each project is a good change takes time and is a risk of interrupting the flow. So you could say, no, don't check, just go quickly because your flow will be quicker. Yeah, but it may be the wrong flow. So Toyota emphasizes strong links between process change and measurable value to make this decision. Kaizen, clearer. Also, when we are preparing our plans, we are thinking already on how we will check the result. Yeah, I always tell the project managers, don't say the audit of the project at the very end is very difficult to do, because you should have your form for the audit ready during the project and just fill in the actual values at the time of the check. Project scope is made small enough to facilitate the flow. And of course, when we can then choose, we will seek to deliver the most significant value first, because we know the value of each piece. So it's then very easy to choose which ones we should start with. Deliver functions in small and even pieces. Designing the deliverables using small unit sizes means that the processing of deliverables is repeated many times during the project, and which is also an opportunity for learning more and more. This allows visualization of problems early and is an opportunity to improve the process after each iteration. It supports the implementation of JIDOKA, which is the right pillar of the TPS house, to control quality. So again, of course, if you control quality and quality is bad, you should stop the process, which will stop the flow. So basically, we have to remove the problems, I'll come back to that, to make sure that this doesn't occur too often and that the check can be done quickly and efficiently. careful planning of the deliverables and regular delivery ensures that each part of the process can be done with the correct quality. In summary, standardization, Jidoka, and visualization work closely with Heijunka, leveling, to increase quality as part of the PDCA. This is an example. I removed the actual content to show you just the pieces that we are delivering as part of a software project. So you see on the left column, the benefits promised, split into use cases and tracked against deliverables. And then you have a project with, in this case, 15.5 weeks of code delivery with 2 functionally testable deliveries per week. And each delivery is checked against a meaningful unit test to measure delivered benefit and for regression testing, Jidoka. So other quality tests built into this continuous flow are also performance, code quality, unit test coverage, and so on. To achieve Heijunka in software delivery, and that's the only place where I will talk a bit about the actual tools, but you will surely hear a lot more in these 2 days about this. To achieve Heijunka in the software delivery process, design, code, and test, we use continuous delivery tools. We use the data that this provides to act as a project virtual obeyer. For Kaizen project, we use an agile approach to steadily improve the business. And in systems engineering, we are moving to cloud operations. Not for all, but so for some things, like our websites, for example. And there we are using infrastructure as code. So you see on the right side the lemniscate, which shows you on the left part the PDCA of my system development, plan, code, build, test. And then you have in red the release to production, the deployment, the operations, and the check, and then it comes back to the development. So you see immediately that if those 2 parts of IT don't work hand in hand, you cannot actually achieve a good result. So it is there important not to improve quickly one part of IT and not the other one. It's important that we all reduce the lead time in unison and in order to move quicker to delivering more value, more added value to the customers. So this is a key slide, I would say. So enabling one-piece flow in business process improvement. You see as columns the phases of projects that are well known: selection, feasibility study, requirements gathering, design, construction, and testing, and audit at the end to check and then act and restart the cycle. As lines, you see the one-piece flow teams, the first one being maximum value for customer, checked throughout the process. The second one being the Heijunka, the leveling, the no batching. And on the first slide, you see what I explained about the link to the Hoshin. The benefits broken down, linked back to deliverables, the project split into phases with biggest benefits being delivered first and then the benefits being measured. And on the second line, where we have split this in 2, and this is also quite interesting in view of what Dan Jones just explained, that the bottom part, Kaizen project, we could imagine that gradually this could become all of our activity and that there would be less bigger projects as part of the top line. On the top line, we still use, in some cases, waterfall methodology. In the bottom part, we will be more agile. We will use Scrum and so on, all those techniques. Of course, if the organization is not mature and you start to have many teams working everywhere on things that would not be coordinated and so on, then you would achieve total chaos instead of achieving the objective. So it's all about the synchronization of achieving those phases. Also, the Kaizen project has to be within a certain budget. You cannot just say, go ahead and do whatever you like and tell us at the end of the year how much it costs. I mean, it may be an ideal company, but I don't know any that works like that today. So we need to do not only time boxing, but also budget boxing, basically. So we would say, as part of the Hoshin, or at the beginning of the year, you would say, for this area, we believe that 200 euro worth of Kaizen is the right amount. And of course, this can be adjusted during the year based on the actual events, or maybe also based on the actual value that is delivered during the year by a particular team. So back to the Toyota house, you have the 3 principles that also Art Burns explained in his book. And you see here what it means for IT on the right, as an example also. So the first one, takt time. I had the example of 2 deliverables a week. Of course, it could become once per day or once per hour if we can achieve, why not? Testable and linked to firm requirements and benefits. The second principle of one-piece flow. So each project linked to the Hoshin and value delivered in ideal-sized pieces through careful balancing of the workload. And use the pull system, track deliverables to requirements and Hoshin, biggest value delivered first. Now, I will move to the last part of my presentation, which is, again, about problem solving. So, how can we eliminate all problems? Of course, we can't. There will always be problems, but still, it has to remain our aim to eliminate all the problems. So this I showed in previous presentations. So you have on the left part the problem-solving methodology of Toyota, well known in 8 steps. Those 8 steps are mapped to the PDCA cycle, where you see that the 5 first steps are about planning. But of course, you shouldn't ignore any of the 3 last steps either. The do is obvious for all, but the check is extremely important, and the act also, including the yokoten, so the sharing of best practices, or sometimes worst practices towards other projects. On the right side, you have the motivational guidelines or the principles. Customer first, always confirm the purpose of your work, take ownership and responsibility, visualize everything you do, judge based on fact, and so on. All those things that nobody can contest, but that are extremely difficult to do day to day for all of us. So, when doing problem solving? Every Toyota member is expected to follow the problem-solving approach for every problem. I would say every day. Problems which impact IS customers are tracked in great detail. Root causes are pursued relentlessly, and countermeasures and targets are visualized. And major issues are shared at various levels of management, to make sure that we don't have a CEO who doesn't have any idea what happens in the company, and who can also support solving more complex type of problems or organizational types of problems. Then, and I will come back to the type of problems, but managers or top technicians will deliver setting type of problem papers, so which basically go to the next step to allow us to step up. The higher management will reflect on their issues, studying deeply to pick up trends and recommend structural changes in technology. And every delivered project must reflect on their successes and learning points to ensure we can grow as an organization. The kanjis on the right say hansei, which means reflection. So this is an example of reflection done for a part of IS after 1 year of problem solving, and showing the result, whether tackling structurally the problems has really enabled us to reduce the number of problems, showing the trends, and saying what we should do differently or better next year. So here I show you in summary the problem-solving levels, saying that 0 is understand the current situation and the standard, which is already not so easy to do. Then the level 1 is problem solving for gap types of problems. So we have something that worked before. I don't know, the Wi-Fi worked, today it doesn't work, how to solve. But then the level 2 is a setting type of problem, where you set a new target based upon deep understanding, break down the challenge into manageable chunks, understand the barriers and overcome them. But we can see a third level, which is at the organizational level, environmental, organizational type of problems. So bring the data from inside and outside the company, identify trends, underlying issues and new opportunities, and take steps to implement processes and organization to elevate performance. So there you can very well imagine that people will start at the level 1 and they will gradually be able to move to level 2 and level 3 type of problem solving. So that even if you have no problem of level 1, you will still have something to do. And if you have done everything on level 2, you will still have something to do. In the end, we can change the whole society for the better. So, a summary of the presentation in 2 slides. Part 1, one-piece flow. So for us, one-piece flow must address the entire business process improvement cycle. Agile, Scrum, and DevOps can help us improve flow in our software development and release process. We don't focus so much on adopting these techniques wholesale. We focus on the Toyota Way principles and adopt the tools that support them. We need to take the broadest view to ensure that we are being the most valuable IS function we can be. For problem solving, we know what Ono-san said about the man with no problems. Yeah? The man with no problems has a big problem. So there is no risk for us to be ever in this situation. Although we know we will never get there, we spend a lot of time studying our problems, setting a target of 0. Also for the car, 0 emissions is the target. Yeah? Now we have the fuel cell vehicles with 0 emissions, for example. So that's the next level. To do what we address our problem solving, we address our problem solving activities at 3 levels to relentlessly move closer to the target. And that's it. So if you have any questions.